what we're talking about today is like to enjoy the weather. Now, depending on where you are in the world, I know that we kind of assume that everybody lives where we do. And of course, I live in the Northeast, the United States. And so here we really relish the good weather when it is, as soon as like May comes, when March comes, we think it's going to be nice, but it never is. And then April comes and we cross our fingers that we'll have some good days. So we only really have a few good months out of the year where it's not gray and cold. And so we really want to enjoy it. And that's what gave me this idea for this, is that even if it's not, an area of your world where, the weather is an issue, there's still so many things in life that we want to enjoy. Like our children, for example, just like enjoying watching them grow up and be little and the silly things, instead of always saying, no, I have to clean. No, I've got to get the house together, or not doing things because of the housework that has to get done, where you say, no, let's go to the beach tomorrow. There's so many tomorrows that build up that before you know it, you look at your child and you're like, oh my God, how did they get that big, Or even, of course, I'm sorry that I talk about kids. It's difficult for me not to. I have 5 of them. But regardless, children, no children, we want to make our dreams come true. We want to go on vacations. We want to enjoy our friends. We want to sit outside and have a glass of wine on the sidewalk at a cafe and just enjoy life. We want to do that. And if we're always saying, oh, I have to clean the house, oh no, I got to get this done, we don't, it's really pretty amazing because we actually don't really get anything done. But so on one hand, we're sacrificing our enjoyment, our life, to get stuff done, but we don't. And so that's what I'm here for, because I know how frustrating it is. So that was my little introduction and thank you for coming. Now, before this call is done, all right, these are the things that you're going to be able to do. You're going to understand yourself. You're going to appreciate yourself. And I know for some of you, if you've been part of in my loop for a while, then you definitely appreciate yourself at this point, and you know that you're wonderful just like you are. Even though I know sometimes, depending on the situation that you're in, you could, fall back and say, oh my God, what's wrong with me? But generally, you get it. If you aren't part of my peeps, then I know that it's really, a big self-esteem sucker, because you think there's something wrong with you. And you really can't appreciate the wonderful gifts that you have, because they seem to be clouded in what society deems as really, unacceptable. So we're going to definitely get to that. You're going to have a plan, and you are going to make a change. All right. That's what's going to happen on this call. I promise. Now, for everybody that has been with me for a while, you know that my help is packed with value. I don't send out a video and then you have to like buy something for it to work. All right. You're going to be able to do the things that I suggest here, and it will empower you to make a great change in your world. But I'm telling you what, there's so much more that I want to talk about, and I can't do it all in 45 minutes or however long we're on here. At the end of this, I'm going to make a special offer, right, that I'm really, really excited about for anybody who wants lasting change. Now, I love this picture of this woman because I think we can all relate to her. I dreamed my whole house was clean. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, okay? I was born organizationally challenged. I figured it out when I was in grade school, and I couldn't get anything to work right. Like, my room was always a mess. Friends would come over and talk about me like, oh my God, look at your room. And, trying to get papers done for school and having to wait till the last minute because I don't know, it was the way my mind worked. So I would just scramble till the very end. I know most of you, or if not all of you, completely understand what I'm saying. Spending an entire weekend up all night working on something that you needed to get done, a project for school, and then you go into marriage. Forget it. When I got married and I had babies, it was overwhelming. And I thought there was something wrong with me. And so that's just a little bit about myself. But I really did want you to know that I understand you completely. And It's been about 23 years now since I have found a system that works, and I've tweaked it and implemented it and worked it. And the women that wrote a book called Sidetracked Home Executives, they're Pam Young and Peggy Jones. I have their blessing to teach this course. So that's about me, okay? What we want, all right? What we want, having an orderly house. It isn't about being seen as wonderful, although it is an incentive. You know, we do all have that Donna Reed syndrome, and I don't know if I'm like dating myself or what, and especially if you're from another part of the world, maybe you don't even know Donna Reed, but Donna Reed, the other one there is, let's see here, if you could see my cursor. This is Donna Reed here. She was like a, you know, I guess like late 60s, early 70s TV show. And here is Leave It to Beaver's mom, June Cleaver. And right here is Lassie's mom, although Lassie's a dog. Timmy was the boy. And here's Bewitched, you know, that perfect little housewife. It really is what we wanted. What we wanted. We wanted to be that. And it is really, though, about being satisfied with life. It's not about having the perfect, you know, wreath on the door. It's about being satisfied with life. Somehow, having a clean bedroom, having laundry in your drawers, the ability to walk from here to there without tripping, the feeling of opening up the front door and having company come in, it gives you a satisfaction that you have the life that you dream of. Somehow, all of this stuff, all of that stuff that I just said, when it isn't in place, life, it can't be satisfying. And we all know that because there is something attached to all of it. Like if the house is a disaster, it's not about the house being a disaster. It's about not being able to find your keys to get out of the house on time to get to that appointment that you so desperately needed to be at. It's about finally finding the man of your dreams and then freaking losing him because he saw something one day, or he just couldn't wait anymore in the front of the house for you to find your shoes, or there's just, or you want to have that dream come off the ground, but you can't even find a pen to write down a goal. I understand how difficult it is, and I do understand that it really isn't about having clean dishes. It's about having a satisfying life. There's so much more to this than just cleaning up the house. Now, only an alcoholic can help another alcoholic, and only a slob can help another slob. And don't hate that word slob. If you're part of my peeps and you understand what slob stands for, it was coined by those people that I mentioned earlier, Pam Young and Peggy Jones. Slob stands for spontaneous, lighthearted, optimistic, and beloved. It's not a bad word. It's what we are. We are spontaneous. We'll do anything at the drop of a hat. We are lighthearted. Really, we could really take just about anything and roll with the punches. We are optimistic because we think, oh, sure, I'll be able to do that. And we're beloved by everybody, of course, because we never say no to anybody. If somebody needs something, guess who you call? You call one of us. That's who you call. Now, the thing is that if you've never been like addicted to something, you can't go over to somebody and say, all right, listen, you really got to stop doing that crack. It's just not good for you. They're going to want to like smack you upside the head is what they're going to want to do. And I know that we've often tried to get help, you know, go into like a Martha Stewart book or what are some other books. Now, listen, this is interactive. So if you want to say something, a lot of times I don't remember words. So if I can't get a word, we can just shoot me the word, all right? And I'll be able to read it, all right? So if you could think of anybody out there that, you know, Heloise, Tips from Heloise, any of those books, seven Habits for Highly Successful People. Oh my God, I love that book. But when I was done, I was like, well, what the heck do I do with this information? I swear to God, reading that book made me go to bed with a pint of Haagen-Dazs and a spoon. Well, I had a girlfriend, we were reading it together, and when we read that book together, she's born organized. She's completely organizationally gifted, and she absolutely loved it. And I'm like, oh my God, I liked it, but what do you do with that information? And the reason for that is because those things were written by people who are organizationally gifted. They've got their crap together. And they absolutely don't understand us. It's the same principle of an addict trying to get help from somebody that's never been an addict. They start at a point that is so far beyond where we are that we're like, huh? Prioritize? Isn't everything a priority? Make a list. Oh my God, there's so much to So that's why. All right. So if you say to yourself, but I've tried so many times before, you're in a different place. All right. Now, I have to lay a bit of a foundation before we get into the, how to and all the what we're going to do, all right? Before we have all right, this is what we're going to do. Before that happens, we have to get something straight because I believe there will never be a success without this understanding, okay? Now, we have to first of all understand ourselves. We have to understand what kind of a person you are. You really have to appreciate who you are, how you think, and how wonderful you are just like you are. You're right-brained, okay? Right-brained people are created by nature. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have any of your left brain hooked up. Of course, I'm sure you do. Obviously, I do. I could never have gotten this off the ground if I didn't. But the thing is that the left brain that is not a predominant feature, it's the administrative side of the brain. It's the side of the brain that tells you what to do and when. It breaks things down into little pieces. When somebody that's organizationally gifted, left brain, goes into a disaster of a room, they don't see the entire room. They see pieces of it and they get started. Do you ever see that? I know that you have some of those people in your world where they'll come and help you and all of a sudden the kitchen is all cleaned up. There's sudsy water in the sink and you're sitting down with a cup of tea with this person and you look at them like, how the hell did you do that? I want you to understand how you think and that you really are wonderful just like you are. You're right-brained. Everybody has different gifts and talents. We don't say to someone who doesn't play the piano that they're dismusical or unmusical. It's very wrong to say that you're unorganized or disorganized. It's just not right. You just simply have to learn. We know all kinds of people that have never played an instrument, and yet they maybe are in Carnegie Hall right now, or they played beautifully because they took lessons. You don't have to be predisposed to music. Like, everybody's born with certain things. I was born musically, with a musical ability. I sat down at the piano and played when I was 4 years old with two hands. I never had any lessons. Am I really good now? No. Why? Because I didn't really pursue it. I could fool around on the piano, but that's about it. Now, there's somebody that never played the piano and couldn't even put two keys together without it sounding decent, and they're beautifully trained and they could play beautifully. And it's all because they learned. So I want you to get that through your head, all right, that you can be organized. And it's not because, there's something wrong with you that you're not. It's simply because it's a gift. It's a talent. It's something that you're either born with or you have to learn, all right? Everybody can't be the leaders in the world. Everybody can't be the followers. Everybody can't be. If everybody was musicians, then what would happen with the scientists? And if everybody were artists, where would the mathematicians be? So you really have to realize that who you are, there's a real reason for who you are and how you are that way. And all you have to do is learn, the principles of order, and then the rest of your life will fall into place. All right. So now that you know that there's nothing wrong with you, all right? You're not unmotivated or lazy. I can't tell you the amount of emails that I get that have such derogatory things that people say about themselves. And, I understand it because I used to be among them. Society, I think, is messed up, that they think that everybody is supposed to be organized. There's not any single thing out there in the world that society thinks you should be, except for organized. Everything else, they allow you to have the time to learn. You are amazing, and you're actually more capable than the organizationally gifted. And here's why I can say that. Because do you realize that without knowing, without ever being instructed, without having learned anything about getting organized, that if something has to get done, we do it. Yet if you take any one of your organizationally gifted friends or sister, any family member, and you tell them, "Oh my God, the party that we planned for, it has to be tomorrow. It's not 2 weeks from now, it's tomorrow." They would be babbling idiots in the corner. They would not know how to do it. They wouldn't. They would be like, "Oh my God, what do we do?" And we would just jump in there and get it done. That party would not only be thrown tomorrow, but it would be one of the best parties in the world. So we really are amazingly capable people. And we just have to embrace that, okay? And let go of all of that thinking that there's something wrong with you. Okay. All right. Now here's another one of the things that I mentioned before that I think that you cannot be successful without knowing certain things. One of them was how to understand yourself. The other one is how really important it is to keep house. Now in the Bible, there's a verse, Titus 2:5, and it says that we are to be keepers at home. Now that is how they came out with the phrase housekeeper, and it has been so watered down to look like, Alice on the Brady Bunch, or somebody with a maid costume on, or a maid uniform on, and a feather duster. And it's such a shame, because it's such an honorable thing to keep house. And if you understand the origins of the words, because these words have been translated, so if you look up what they were translated from, keeper means to guard, not to like keep house the way we think of it, like, well, all right, I'm just going to do some housekeeping. And that means that you're going to wipe down the counter and throw out some garbage. No, to keep house means you guard that house. It is very serious work. There's two places in the Bible where God says to keep, meaning the same word guard. And that was in Genesis when God told Adam to keep the garden, to guard the garden. And that's where he speaks to, and generally, now, because think of the culture, okay? He was speaking to women, and he was talking to us about keeping house. Now, if you have any issue with this kind of thing that I'm going to say, I'm sorry, but think it through, all right? There has to be an order to things. Everybody can't be a leader. Everybody can't be a follower. Everybody can't be responsible for taking care of the house. No, that's incorrect. Everybody can't be the one responsible for the house, but everybody is responsible to take care of it. But there has to be somebody that is overseeing. It is necessary in life. You know that in any job, in any industry, in any walk of life, someone has to be in charge. God put us in charge of the house. And, if you have an issue with that, please think it through. Because why would you think for 1 second that it's demeaning or it's not as important? A real honorable estate to be the keeper of the house. All right. All right. Now, there was a time when homemaking, right, was an important job. Now, what happened? I mean, we can really go into some sociological discussion about this, but around 1980, around that time, you were either lazy if you stayed home with your kids, or you were a bad mother if you went out to work. There were certain videos of certain movies in that area, like Baby Boom was one of them, and it clearly depicted that it's really difficult to do it all. It wasn't what we were intended to do. Now, can you do it all? Well, yeah. Do you have to have it in order? Do you have to have the things in priority? Things prioritized? Absolutely, you do. This movie that I have here on the left corner here, this was Please Don't Eat the Daisies, and that's Doris Day and David Niven, and I don't remember the mother's name, but Doris Day back then, in this movie, she was a stay-at-home mom, right? And she didn't have a job outside the house. She had 3 boys. And she comes home one day from taking them shopping. She sits down, puts her feet up, takes off her lovely little hat, and says, "Oh, I am never going to take them shopping again." I mean, her day was done, okay? This is what she had, this woman. She had a woman that came to the house and helped her not only with the meals and the house, but the kids. She had a mother that came and helped her out periodically on a regular basis. And nobody looked at her like there was something wrong with her. Like, oh my God, look at her. She doesn't even work. They didn't think of it that way at all. So if you go outside of the house to work, which most of us do, and you have a family or even you have a home that you have to take care of, you are amazing. You're crazy amazing. And we need to really see that what we do is a tremendous job. It's very difficult, and nothing should be seen ever as subservient. All right? You've got to get that out of your mind. Okay? All right. This is what happens to us because we have the attitude that, housework is mundane or it's unimportant. We say we'll do it later. We say, oh, that could wait. We say, oh, that's not important. I'll get to it later. That's what happens when you don't realize that housework is really an honorable thing. It's very important. And when you put it off and when you don't give it its priority, that's when we get into a mess. And now, believe me, I know that that's not the only reason why, because there were times when I was, studying the Bible and I realized that homemaking was important. All right. And I understand, please, you don't have to study the Bible to realize that. You don't have to believe in Jesus or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I came to a point in my life where I realized that homemaking was important and I still couldn't put it together. So it's not the only thing, but it is one of the things that is very important. When I first got organized back 24 years ago, my son is now 24 years old and I was pregnant with him at the time. One of the most important things that I learned was that my job was important and that I wasn't watching soap operas all day anymore. I wasn't on the phone all the time. I wasn't doing other things before I took care of my work. So that's what I wanted to get across right there. When somebody wins the lottery, right? They never say, I'm going to quit home, right? Home is what we work for. If you won the lottery, I mean, you would say, I quit my job. Yet we give our jobs a priority that is so unbalanced. We get dressed in the morning beautifully so that we can walk outside and meet people we don't love and look good for people that are not going to be there for us if we need them, really, because they're not family. They work with us. Yet we'll stay home, not get dressed, wait a while, figure out, I'll get dressed later. I'll look like crap all day. Why is that? It's backwards. And I really think that it has so much to do with the society's thing of homemaking and of life at home, that it's not as important as, your career. Most of us would dump our career if now, Grant, listen, please. I am really a motivated and driven person. I'll always do something. I always will. But honestly, I'll do something I absolutely love. And it wouldn't be, driving a bus or, filling out papers somewhere. It wouldn't be that. So nobody ever says I'm going to quit home. All right. We give work a lot of attention, and I think it's because we forgot how important home life really is. And we believed a lie, and a lie believed might as well be the truth. So I want you to really, take all of those things into consideration as we move on. All right. Without the crucial understanding that something will always take precedent over home. All right. Without all of that understanding that I just said, something will always be more important, and we will never take the time that we need to clean it up and keep it that way. So right now, I want you to see yourself as an executive at home. All right. And don't ever forget, it is what we're working for outside the home. Okay. Now, We're going to talk about the no excuse rule because this is absolutely important. If you don't know the no excuse rule, you've got to get it. And it might seem a little harsh in some ways because, I don't want to sound unsympathetic, but an excuse is really just a reason. And as long as you have a reason to be some way, you're stuck there. I mean, this is why. Well, you know why I'm like this. Well, as long as you say that, well, how can you change it? How can you? That's why you're like that. So you're stuck. So you have to throw all the excuses out the window. And I want you to think about this, all right? Every single person that has any excuse that you can make, even down to I'm in a wheelchair, even down to I have a disease, even down to that, they have the same excuse. There's somebody out there that has the same excuse, yet they're able to keep the house clean. Now, in my course, I go much more into detail here, and I talk about how, I was in a wheelchair for a year, and I get it. I was in a terrible car accident, and I understand that there are reasons that you can pretend to have, but they really are reasons that are a pretend. They're not factual because we are a mess because of our habits, not because of our living circumstances. Whether you have a headache, whether your house is too big, whether your house is too small, whether you can't walk, whether you have so much on your plate, whether the baby was up all night, whether your husband wore a swing, whether you've been driving the kids all over the place, whether you're sick, whether you're depressed, it doesn't make the reason for a messy home. It makes just, I guess, a reason for us to decide that we could say something about it. We can have an excuse for it. But as long as you have an excuse, you're not going to find an answer. So you have to throw them out, okay? I wanted to say this, all right? When I got into that car accident, I had been on this system for about, let's say, about maybe 18 months or so, because my baby was 15 months old when I got into the car accident, and I was pregnant with him when I did it. So, it was probably a year and a half. And so everything was streamlined. Everything was orderly. The house was immaculate. Life ran smoothly. My children had their jobs. And so when I got into that accident, there wasn't any devastation other than, the accident itself on my family. Like, people didn't have to go to the house and be embarrassed, and they didn't have to climb through things and try to find the kids' clothes and all of that. It was good for them. But that's not my point. My point is this. And it was maintained even after I came home, and I couldn't walk, and I was in a hospital bed for a month. For a month, yeah, and then on a wheelchair for a year. Even then, it still stayed wonderfully maintained because different habits were in place, and these things were just on autopilot. But if you're in a disaster and you find yourself in that situation, then please understand that I know that it is a different situation trying to get out of the mess when you have either, had some sort of an accident, or you've had a diagnosis that has made you in a position where you're not well. It is different, and I understand that. And there is a way to get out of it. It's kind of like building your house in the rain. It's difficult to do, but you could do it. All right. So that's when it comes to the no excuse rule. I just wanted to make sure I made that clarification. Okay. All right. Now we're going to get started. Okay. That was what we had to go through, and you had to hear before everything that we're going to do now could actually be implemented, because then you would always find a reason to not do it. All right. Our number one obstacle, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have too much stuff. That's it. That's our number one obstacle. And until we get to the point where we declutter, where we get rid of stuff, it's never going to be okay. It's never going to be okay. Now I'm doing a video right now that isn't up yet, and it will only be available to people that are inside my membership site. And that's only because there's going to be a lot of stuff revealed, and I only want people that really know me and love me to see this stuff. I'm doing a video about when I moved into back into my house after my grown children had lived here, and it was like Animal House, and then literally Animal House, their animals were here, and then they moved out. My grown daughter moved in to help me out, and my son was here, was 23, still here, and there was a lot of mayhem, is the best word to say for it, I suppose. And I have pictures. I've got documented the whole thing. If anybody saw my house during that time, I mean, if you walked in my bedroom, you'd say, "Oh, damn, she's a tidy Tutor." But if you walked in my front door, you would say, "Damn, she's a tidy Tutor?" Really. Just because the way things were. Now, my point to telling you all of that is this. When we were in a position, like when my sons moved out, when the animals left, when my daughter had time to breathe because she had just gotten a new job, and when we got ourselves situated, and we both, me and my daughter, both looked at each other and said, "All right, let's get it together." I want to let you know something, okay? When you see these pictures, you're going to be like, "Oh my God, it took us one day." One. And the reason for that is because what you see on the screen there, all of that, if you're just listening to this audio, then I want you to know that what I have visually to see is a disaster. You know, a lot of storage, a lot of stuff that looks like it was probably in like a storage room, you know, one of those rooms everybody has that nobody uses, and we just keep packing stuff in there. You know, the clutter that we have, I didn't have any of that. So when we got, you know, to get the rooms together that needed to get together, it took a day, one day. And I'll tell you what, and I know that you understand this. If I was having company years ago, it took me 2 weeks to prepare for that company. And the very last 2 days, I was up almost all night, and there was so much stashing and dashing going on. And if you don't know what stash and dash is, I know you actually do, but maybe you just never heard the term before. Stash and dash is when you are just beside yourself. Somebody is on their way, and you take whatever it is that you could find and you shove it anywhere that it can't be seen. So those things most likely would be seen by you a couple of years later. And I'm sure that we all know about the things that we've had to repurchase. We've had to cancel checking accounts. We've had to, all these crazy things because of stash and dash, because we shoved things places and knew that we'll get to it later, but there was so much to be stashed that we didn't get to it later. So my whole point to that was, I'm telling you, if you do not get rid of the stuff, you cannot make anything happen that you actually want to happen. You will always be behind the 8 ball. Okay? You might be able to get the house cleaned up. I know you will. We all do it. But it won't stay that way. And one little something will just make, it's like a house of cards. All right? So I know that you understand, and I know that you know that you've got to get rid of your stuff, okay? You have to. Now, I did a video once called the glass slipper, because it just doesn't fit. Okay? If it doesn't fit, you've got to get rid of it. Now, I had to get rid of that dresser that you see there in the bottom right-hand corner. It was actually, you know, one of those things, a sideboard for a dining room, and I had it in my my living room. I love it. It's beautiful. It's antique. I love how it looks. It looked right in the room. It didn't work. We couldn't even use our living room. My daughter said, "Mom, we got to get rid of that piece of furniture. We can't even, like, use this room. It's not usable. It looked nice, but it was not usable." I had to get rid of it. You don't keep things just because you love them. They have to fit. It has to have a purpose. You have to, I mean, loving it is one of the criteria, but does it fit you? Is it clothing and it doesn't fit you anymore? You know, we go through so many things, and I can't do it right now. I could just tell you that you really have got to get to the point where you understand that you got to get rid of stuff, okay? Because that is one of your biggest problems. It's our biggest problem is stuff. And if you think that I don't consistently have to get rid of stuff, you're wrong. If you think that everybody that's organizationally gifted doesn't, you're wrong about that too. They do. That's how it stays organized, is that stuff happens. I have a very dear friend who's moving right now, and she is so organizationally gifted. And she sent me pictures of stuff that she was getting rid of, an immense amount of stuff. So it's not unusual. It's unusual that you keep it. See? Okay? All right. There's also a verse in the Bible that says, where there is no vision, my people perish. I want you to start seeing what it is that you want things to be like. Visualize it, okay? Now, this picture in the center here, this is a what is it? Oh gosh, 400 square feet apartment in Manhattan. This one here is, reason I put this here is because I don't want you to think that you can't keep things that you love, and that your place has to look like a, one of those, or we have one of those words I'm probably going to need somebody's help with. When you go somewhere that they have, a model home. All right. You don't want it to be like a model home where like nobody lives here. And so, I mean, if you love books and things, but just don't have more than fits, don't have more than will accommodate your living area. And that won't make you happy because you don't even have a place to sit anymore. So that's why I included this picture, because to some people, this looks like, oh my God, that's a lot of clutter. But to other people, this is happy. Because listen, we don't really care about perfect. We care about happy, right? All right. So here is one of the things that we are going to do. All right. Oh, good. Minimalist. Thank you, Cecilia. You're the bomb. Yeah, a minimalist. A minimalist would have saw that picture. Bada bing. All right. So one of the things we're going to do is we are going to begin. All right. So now if you want to take notes, then that would be wonderful. If not, you don't have to, but here we're going to begin with the to-dos for between now and, September, I guess. All right. You're going to take 15 minutes a day, and you're going to work on a section of your house. All right. Now, I recommend working on a section that is not a main living area, because what will happen is you'll do something for 15 minutes in there, and then they'll come in and mess it up. Because until you have a system in place and until you get things together, that's going to happen just like it always has. Nothing's going to change there. I do tell you, though, I want you to know that when you do get on a roll, then you will be able to keep the living areas at bay, and family will get involved. That does happen. All right. I want you to take 15 minutes a day and go into a section of the house that you neglect. Like maybe your front porch is a wreck or something, or maybe it's one of those rooms that you just shove things in. Maybe it's a section of a living area, like maybe you have all kinds of craftings on your dining room table, or maybe it's part of your kitchen that you have all these papers piled up all over in there. Whatever, it can be a main living area, but it can't be like, regular cleaning that you're going to do a regular cleaning for 15 minutes. You're going to de-junk. All right. You're going to get rid of stuff. Now I have a video on de-junking, and I will absolutely gift it to you. I'll send it to you so that you can have that. All right. But even if you don't watch the video, that's fine. From now until forever or whatever, I want you to take 15 minutes a day. All right. And do something. Now, let me tell you, how many people tell me that 15 minutes that they continually look at their watch or their timer because they think they probably didn't push start because so much time has gone by. We can get done so much in 15 minutes. It's crazy. All right. Now, if at all it's possible for you to do 3 15-minute things in a day, then awesome. You will be so happy. But it's not necessary, all right? So much can be done just one time, 15 minutes a day. So that's the one thing we're going to do, all right? Another thing we're going to do is we're going to incorporate 4 new habits. The habits are do it now, say no, get up a half an hour before you actually have to, and shower, groom, and dress before anything. Those are the 4 habits, all right? If you get my tips, if you don't get my tips, then you have to go to tidytutor.com and put in your name and email, and you'll get my tips. And these are videos that you'll get. Do it now, not later. say no. Now, say no is because we say yes to everybody, because remember, we thought that being the homemaker or taking care of the house, it wasn't very important. So we'd say yes to everything. We'll get to this later. Now, we're going to see the house as priority. So when somebody calls you and asks you to do something, and you know that there's something that you wanted to do today at home, then you say no to that. And now remember, I know that you might be saying to yourself, well, wait a minute. You said this is so that we can go out and enjoy life. Yeah, it is. But the thing is that unless you do the things, you do something at home, when you do go out, you're going to be feeling that guilt that we were talking about that we wanted to avoid. So what you want to do is you want to do the things that we're talking about here, so that even if the house is a wreck when you go out, you're not going to care, okay? Because guess why? You're doing something about it, all right? You didn't get in the mess overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight. So if somebody calls you and says, you want to go to the dump? I really want to go to the dump. Please come to the dump with me. And we say, all right, wait, I really would like to go to the dump, but this is what I planned today. So how about I'll call you back when I'm done with what I'm doing? And if they say, oh, no, I got to go now. Well, then forget it. No, then don't go to the dump today. All right? See what I mean? All right, now get up a half an hour before you actually have to. I know it's a little bit difficult, but I'll tell you, it changes your freaking world, all right? And then when you do get up, you shower, dress, and groom before anything, all right? Before you go on your computer, oh, wait, let me do this first. No, shower, dress, and groom first, all right? I'm not going to go into detail why. I'm just telling you what to do, all right? Now, here are 2 to-dos that you're going to be doing during this time as well, all right? You're going to do the dishes on a regular basis, all right? Not doing the dishes anymore when you use one is just not, it's not allowed, all right? Do it now means you're not going to put anything off. You're not going to take that credit card and say, all right, I'll put it in my wallet later. You're not going to take those keys and throw them on the chair and say, oh, I'll hang them up later. No, everything is do it now, all right? And one of the things with the dishes is do it now. And you will go to bed every evening with 0 dishes in the sink. Either your dishwasher is running or your dishes are in the drain, all right? And then in the morning, you put those dishes away. And this is what happens. Now, remember, if you live with anybody, delegate, okay? You could, now, after dinner, everybody should clean up after dinner, not just you. Everybody that eating makes a mess. Now, here's what the laundry deal is. You're going to put a load in before bed, and you're going to put that load in the dryer before you leave, as soon as you wake up, all right? The moment you wake up, you put that clothes in the dryer, you jump in the shower, all right? You get yourself dressed. The moment you wake up, because this way, if you leave the house in the morning, when those clothes are done in the dryer, you can take them out of the dryer and either lay them flat or dry them or fold them. Now, the reason you lay them flat is so they're not wrinkled when you come home. If you have time to fold them, fold them. And I know that putting away clothes right now is a difficult thing because you probably have like way too many clothes that you don't wear shoved in your drawers. We will get to that, okay? All right. So those are the habits, okay? Do it now. Say no. Do the dishes on a regular basis, and do laundry. Now, as long as you're doing this kind of stuff, okay, even if your house is a wreck, you're still going to be able to go out, enjoy the freaking summer. You're spending 15 minutes a day, all right? You're doing that. You're making sure that the dishes are going. You're making sure that the laundry is going. Now, remember something about the laundry, all right? The dishes, you're going to have to actually do every dish in the house and then start up. If you have tons of dishes to do, you have to do that. Laundry, you don't have to like catch up on all the laundry to make this happen, okay? But you do have to do a load in the evening and a load in the morning. And you have to realize that the laundry that you have right now, it's not having any babies, right? It's not getting any bigger. It's going to stay exactly where it is. So if you just keep this going, it'll be fine. And if you have children that can reach the knob, they could be taught to do their own clothes. And that is not a bad thing. You're setting them up for success in life. You're teaching them skills, life skills. And in our course, we go into things about towels and other things, but we can't do that right now. There's something called controlled stash and dash, and this is another thing that you want to put on your list that you have to do besides those habits, the 2 to-dos and 15 minutes, is this. Now, this right here on the left, this is actually my mess right here. In my kitchen, there is this little basket on the counter. This is my kitchen counter. And when I like to do papers in my kitchen. I like to work on paperwork in my kitchen. And before I realized, this is what I call, if you can't beat them, then don't. Just figure out how it'll work for you. Um, I always do work in my kitchen with papers, and I have an office area, but I never end up bringing the papers back in there, and they end up piled on the counter, and I always hated it. So I figured, well, wait a minute. Instead of, I have desk days, or a specific day of the week that I work on papers. So, and remember, if you ever hear me say, do you have a desk day or anything like that, it's not an entire day. It means this is the day designated for it. All right. So I'll work on my papers right here. I have my little Cheerio box that was empty where I put the stuff that I had to get recycled in there. Excuse me. And when I was done, the papers got back in there and it gets put back on the counter. Now, when more papers come in, it goes in there and I work on them on my designated day. And what happens that's wonderful is these decorative storage boxes, it keeps everything looking neat and orderly. And so if you walk through your house, this is what I want you to do. Go from your front door and walk around your house and just take notice of all those hot spots that you have. Like maybe you have a sideboard or a side, like a table in your entranceway that always gets stumped with stuff, or an island, or a certain counter, or your dresser. If this is my dresser here, when I was married, I had that basket in the back, that little wicker basket for my ex-husband's pocket stuff, because men take things out of their pockets and dump them on dressers. And instead of nagging them and yelling at him about it, I just said, when you take the stuff out of your pockets, can you please put it in this basket? And then the dresser looked neat. If you have like a bunch of kids that come in from the pool or something like that, get hooks to put their towel on. Maybe if you have a garage that they walk through, or a side entranceway or something. If when they're going to school, and say you have this big area that's all their school stuff, a hook and a basket, the basket for their shoes, the hook for their coat and their book bag. I want you to make a place for stuff that is always an eyesore. And if you have like this right here, these are my wires. We all have wires, right? So I have wires in a decorative box. This is what the box looks like with the lid on. This is what it looks like with the lid off. This is a box that's in my bedroom. It's a little box that looks exactly like this. It looks cute and it doesn't look like a mess, a whole bunch of stuff all over the place. This is my junk basket on my dresser. It's for stuff that, I go through it once a week because we have a system in place. So this is where I just throw some stuff that I need to, like I have like, I have a pair of glasses with a nose and a mustache in there because I like it. I have some papers that I say, well, I have to do something with this, and they happen to be in my bedroom at the time, so that went in there. Maybe I would have, I don't know, so my son hands me keys in my bedroom and says, here, wait, can you hold these for me? I'll throw them in there. You know what I mean? So this way, if I'm in a situation where I say, oh wait, where is that? I know where to look. It's in the junk basket in my bedroom because that's, if I remembered that that's where he handed them to me, of course that's where they would be. Okay. So I want you to, that's another thing that we're going to do this summer. All right. To get things together, you're going to walk around the house. You're going to see your hot spots and you're going to say, what can I get that will make this area not a mess anymore? Most of the time it's just a decorative box. And if I'm sure you already have so many things you can use. If you don't, and even if like say money's tight and you can't go out and get a decorative box, then this is what I did years ago. I went and I got apple boxes from the grocery store, the produce store. They have a lid and they have handles, and I wrapped them. And so if you have now, if you can get dollar store, if you can get dollar store, you know what? Wallpaper. If you get like dollar store wallpaper, sometimes there's discount stores that have, then find a wallpaper that matches something, wrap that box with it, and there you have a decorative box that didn't cost you anything. If you don't come across that, then just get regular wrapping paper. You'll have to do it more often because it won't stay so nice, but it'll work. It'll be a solution for a while. Okay? All right, so there's that. Now, we have to think about first things first, and what I mean by that is do what you have to before you do what you want to. Or as I say it, do what you gotta before you do what you wanna.
It has to be done that way. I have a picture here of a jar with marbles in it. If you fill that jar with sand, you can fit nothing else in it. And when we don't work on our houses first, that's what we're doing. We're filling the jar with sand with all these other things that we have to do. And then there's no room. There's no more time for the house stuff that has to get done. This is especially important if you are a stay-at-home worker, if you work from home, because we think we're always going to be able to get to it. We're home all day. Of course. Yeah, I'll do it. My work is important. Of course your work is important. Yeah, but so is home. And if you do the things that are on your routine first, if you do, none of these things take long. We have a warped perception of time. It doesn't take any longer to throw that wrapper in a garbage than it does to put it down on a table. When you spill something in the refrigerator, it takes very little time for you to wipe that up, but it takes you forever to chisel it out down the road. So really just trust me here. All right. You have to trust me here that you have to take care of home first and then everything else. Then you fit so much in your jar. Your day is so filled lovely. Like you have, your jar filled with your marbles. So everything is wonderful. When you're done with work, you walk out into your living area and you're happy there. Then you have other things to do, like filling sand in there because you have other stuff to do. And then you still have more things to do, and you can actually put more because you could fill water in there and it fills up the empty spaces. But if you fill everything with sand first, all of your life is taken up with things that screw up the rest of your life. And that's what I'm talking about, what I talked about in the very beginning.
What we want to do is live our life on purpose. And then what happens is our life doesn't kind of like fall through the cracks of like the sands of time, because we do what we do because we want to do it. And the things that we have to do, we do in a manner that makes life easier to live. And it all comes with understanding and learning and figuring out how we tick and then just getting it done. And that's what I teach in my course, Tidy Tutor University. It really is an amazing course. And if you go to thetidytutor.com and you click on that section where it says DIY course, Tidy Tutor University, then you can find out what other people have said about my course, how amazing it is, how it changes lives, it changes everything. And you can get the first session absolutely free and take it and just see how great it is and that it will work. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. There's absolutely no risk, and there is so much to gain. I hope you have enjoyed this webinar, and I also hope that you will go to thetidytutor.com and check out what I've got to offer there, okay? Thanks so much for coming. My name is Kathy Roberts, and I am the Tidy Tutor.